Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing today? I'm Frank Greco, also known as the Cooking Cowboy. Today in my kitchen I'm going to be making a few empanadas. An empanada looks like a pastry, but in this case on the inside the filling could be beef, chicken, cheese, turkey, sausage, a multitude of things. But today specifically I'm going to be making a beef empanada. So what do we need to make this? Let's go look at the ingredients. So what we're going to need are 3 onions, 2 bell peppers, 1 red, 1 green, 5 tomatoes, 3 pounds of ground beef, some salt, some pepper, some olive oil, some butter, and some Texas Pete hot sauce. All right, so let's get started. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to chop up our vegetables. All right, so we're going to start with the onion because they take a little longer. Slice the ends off. Slice the ends up, be careful of your fingers. Now if you want to make a little cut just like this in the side, you can peel off the whole outer layer at one time. It makes the life a lot simpler. Okay. There's one. Make sure you have a garbage ready so you can drop it off. And you're going to want to chop those 3 onions up fine. Okay, now that we've got our onions done, let's move on and do the same thing with the red and the green bell pepper. Okay, now that we've got the onions and we have the pepper sliced up, it's time to get started. Let's get cooking. First thing we want to do is we're going to get this pan nice and hot. Now you want to get the pan hot before putting the olive oil in there, because if you put oil in a cold pan, it'll burn the oil. So let's go grab the oil now. Okay, so let's add the olive oil. A couple of tablespoons will do. Put that off on the side. Now we also want to add some butter. It just adds better flavor when you have butter and oil together. Again, about 2 tablespoons of butter. Let's get that in there. Not gonna be too hot. Let's melt that in there together. Oh, don't you love the sizzle? Get this out of the way. Now while that's all nice and melted, what we want to do, let's go get the onions and put them in first. Notice how finely chopped we got them. Onions in. Level that off a little bit. And this is where we want to add some salt and pepper, because salt and pepper adds flavor. Okay, I'm using Himalayan sea salt, pink Himalayan sea salt. A little bit of salt, some pepper. Don't be shy, these add flavor. Okay, let's mix that up a little bit. Let's get that butter evenly coated. Okay, so let's let that do its magic for a few minutes. So while the onions are starting to cook, what we want to do now is we want to start chopping the tomatoes. You want to try to stay ahead of the game. You want a nice beefy hearty tomato, because if not, it gets all sloppy. Now you don't have to chop it as fine as I chopped the peppers and onions, but you want to get them nice little chunks. All right. That looks good. Put it in the bowl. Let's go back and stir those onions. Smell the aroma off it already. Now I've made these beef empanadas many times before, but it's been a long time and I'm doing it from memory. And trust me, when you get a little older, memory is sure to come by. So now that we've given the onions a few minutes head start, we want to add the peppers. Nice, beautiful red and green pepper. All right, let's get those in there right in the pan. Always have a garbage ready so you don't have to look for one. Now we want to mix these in, but before you really mix them in, let's add a little more salt and pepper. Okay, there's some salt. And there's some pepper. Now let's mix that all together. Very vibrant colors. Red, white, and green. Almost like the Italian flag. Hey, it's just a coincidence if you know what I'm saying. Now you're going to start to get a lot of juices from the peppers and onions. That's okay, because we're going to strain them off a little bit. We don't want it too mushy. Not too dry, but not too mushy. Oh, that's looking pretty, I'm telling you. So let's let that cook for a few minutes. Let's get back there and start chopping up more of them tomatoes. You get them small, you get them big, as long as you get them. Again, I'm using heirloom tomatoes because my wife said she wanted heirloom tomatoes. Happy wife, happy life. Okay, let's slice these up. Excuse me for not looking at the camera, but I like to keep all my fingers intact. Chop another tomato. Let's go stir the vegetables. What I like to do is I like to get a little smack. All right? That gets the skin off really easy. There we go. It's coming down. That's one. Two, one. Now we're going to the third one. And last but not least, the fourth one. So now I've got the garlic chopped up. And if you can tell, I have a dog. Sometimes I like to mince it, sometimes I just chop it up fine. I'm just going to chop it up fine. Let's go stir those onions and peppers up. Now that they're incorporated a little better, let's add a little more salt and pepper. Not so much because you don't want to over season. Okay, so let's keep chopping up that garlic and get it in there. If you don't mind, I'm not going to look at the camera because I like to keep my fingers where they belong, on my hand. Okay, let's get that garlic in the pan. You don't want to add the garlic in too early because if you're not careful, it'll burn and it'll just give it a bitter taste. I like to let the peppers and the onions cook a little bit, then add the garlic in. We got the big one here. All right, that's number 3. Number 4. If you notice, I'm letting the onions and the peppers just do their thing. You gotta give them a couple of minutes because if you keep stirring, nothing actually gets done. You let them cook just a little bit. Just go back intermittently every couple of minutes and just stir them up a little bit. All right, because you don't want to leave it too long on one side. A couple of minutes is not going to kill them at all. Come on, Frankie G, get these tomatoes done, right? I don't know why, but every time I make these things, I somehow equate it with the song Desperado by the Eagles. You know, but instead of Desperado, I changed to empanadas. Why do you wake up and worry? Don't ask me. Sometimes there's no reason. Definitely never a rhyme. Okay. Now we got the tomatoes all done. All right, let's go back and stir them some more. Okay, so let's get a little bit out. And let's taste that. It's softened up enough. Got a little flavor to them. So let's get those tomatoes in there. As you can see, they're not chopped up too bad, but tomatoes are in. Now we want to stir that up. So now that the tomatoes in, we're going to let that cook a few more minutes. Now that we've got everything all cleaned up again, let's go stir it down. Everything's coming together real nice. Now normally I would drain it, but you know what? Let's let it cook. We can drain it at the end because now I'm going to add the chopped meat. I'm using 73% because to me, more fat, more flavor. Just get it into the pan and then we break it up. You don't want super big chunks. Looks better when you break it up. Try to keep everything equal because this way it'll cook about the same. Now what we're doing here, this is just a filling for the empanada. I'm creating this a day early because you want to let it sit for a day to soak in all them flavors. Tomorrow, I'm going to make the dough fresh. It's starting to break down better now. We just want to give the flavors all a chance to meld together. Let's let that cook up. It's actually a little bland. Actually, it's very bland. Now, I'm not adding any more pepper. At this point, we just want to add salt. Just the flame a little bit. At this point also, it's very wet. So again, we're going to be straining something because you don't want that too wet. Okay. Flavors are starting to come together. Believe it or not, needs more salt. I'm actually going to turn it up a little because I want it to cook some. Let's let those flavors just blend together. I was trying to find a good word. Blend's a good word. So, what do you do when you're waiting for it to blend? You drink some vino. Eventually, we're going to have to strain this. So what I want to do is I want to get the strainer out. Let's have the strainer ready. Now, I made a big batch, so we might have to do this in some batches. I have a fresh spoon. Not bad. Now here's the piece de resistance. Here's the secret ingredient. Texas Pete hot sauce. Shaken well. You don't want to go crazy, but you gotta have some heat. I love the smell of Texas Pete. So let's go rinse that spoon off. No double dipping in my house. It's always better the next day. Let's add a little more salt. Let's go rinse it off again. It's coming together now. A little more Texas Pete. I love the smell of that stuff. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so let's let that cook a couple of minutes. Let everything gel together. I think we're done with the Texas Speed hot sauce, so let's get that back in the fridge. Get another taste. Pretty good. Just a little bit more salt. So let's let that cook for a few minutes. Just leave it alone. Okay, so now that we're letting it cook a few minutes, we want to stir it up again. Get one more taste. Trying to get a little bit of the peppers, the onions, you know, the tomato. That's not bad. We're going to leave it there for now. So now what we're going to do is going to come over to the sink. I'm going to strain some of this out. Take it off the flame. Just to make it easier, I'm going to start here. Get this into the strainer. Hopefully we can get it in one shot. I'm scooping it in because picking up this big pan would be a mess. I think we're going to make it. So now we could put the rest in. Hey, all in one strain. As Barry Manilow say, looks like we made it. All right. As you can see here, I'm letting it strain because you don't want it too wet. It just makes a mess. Now that we've got it strained really well, I actually took a lot of fluid out of there. It's not going to kill the flavor. So now you want to transfer this to a bowl. Okay. This goes in the sink. But it gets better with age. Okay, so now that we've got it in the bowl, we're gonna put it in the fridge, let it rest overnight, let it soak up some of those flavors. Tomorrow, we'll come back, make the dough, finish our empanadas. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.